Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the anatomy of a research article. So, um, when we do research, a lot of times we're not just trying to understand what happens, a lot of times we're trying to further the research. And so, researchers rely on each other to sort of tackle topics together so that they can extend the research, working together to push it in new directions rather than perhaps one person studying the same thing and then another person comes up with the same exact study and another person comes up with the same exact study. Rather, they try to build off of each other. And so they that's the reason behind research articles is to um, allow people to access the research and understand what has been studied. So there are four major parts of a scientific article. There's the introduction and review of literature, and the methods, results, and discussion. So the introduction section, or literature review. So it initially presents the research question or the purpose of the article or paper. Then it describes the primary constructs of interest, gives conceptual definitions of the constructs. So we talked about what constructs are. They're what you're wanting to study. It's like the variable before it's been turned into a variable. So you describe what you're studying here, the ideas that you're wanting to study. And then you review the literature in order to justify your research question. So you talk about what other people have studied and how you're building upon what they've studied. You want to identify a gap in the research. Because like I said, we're trying to extend what other people have done. Do something else. And then you present the hypotheses in this section at the very end. The method section. Okay, so this is the section where the researcher describes how they tested the question. It's to help people to understand whether they should trust the results that is found in the study. So there's four subsections: participants, procedures, measures, analytic strategy. So in the participant section, you describe what group of people you're studying, and some of the characteristics. And then the procedures, you talk about how the study was performed, how the sample was collected. It helps people understand potential areas of bias. And then there's the measure section. Did the authors measure their variables in a way that's valid and reliable? So you basically are describing the variable at that point. You give the operational definition of your variables and give a detailed description of them. And then there's the analytic strategy, although this section is sometimes skipped. And in this section, the statistical techniques are described. And the purpose of this is to allow researchers to assess whether the author performed the statistics correctly. Do they use the appropriate statistical techniques? Okay, the third section is the results section. In this section, you describe the results of the statistical analyses. And this is usually done in a narrative form, like, I did this statistical procedure and this is what I got. And then, it provides the statistical information, so a lot of the quantitative numbers. And then there are tables and figures, or quotes if it is qualitative. The tables and figures are places to put numbers or the results from the study. Last section is the discussion section. So it summarizes the findings of the study, sort of recapping what the results did, but in a succinct way. And then interprets the meaning of the findings by integrating them into what has been done in the past. So it's looking at the results that you got while keeping in mind what other people have done in the past, helping you to interpret what the results mean. And this also helps you to identify areas of future research. And then you also describe the limitations of the study itself so that people understand how far they can take your results, whether they can be applied in this situation or that. So, because every study has limitations, and it's important to acknowledge the limitations of our studies. And that is basically the anatomy of a research article.